Today on the 1012 podcast, myself, Daniel Alexander, and Chris Ross are joined by our guest picker, StatsOWar. Parker Fleming himself is here to help us make picks for all the Week 6 Big 12 games. That includes the final Big 12 Red River Rivalry, the Butt Bowl, Kansas State at Oklahoma State, UCF at Kansas, and of course TCU at Iowa State. Welcome to the 1012, the podcast that covers all 14 teams in the Big 12 Conference, plus Colorado, Arizona, Arizona State, and Utah. We are the flagship show of the 1012 Network. Find every podcast in the network at 1012network.com, TEN, the number 12, the word network. And of course, we are partners with Sport Social, Europe's biggest sports podcast network. Today is Thursday. You know what that means, that myself, your host for this show every week, Phillip, is going to be here making picks with my two good friends who join us every Thursday during the college football season. You know them as the LGG OG himself, Chris Ross.
Hey, hopefully this week's better than last week.
It feels like every other week that's what we are saying. And our pro picker himself, he is the man who spends most of his time in Vegas, Daniel Alexander.
We're back. We're storming up the charts. I'm coming for that free beer, Chris. We'll watch out.
Someone's going to enjoy a drink at the end of all this. And as we have mentioned, for the next few weeks, we will have a guest picker joining our ranks since we're kind of light as far as the load of Big 12 games. Joining us today, his voice you are very familiar with if you are a longtime listener of the 1012 podcast, or if you just happen to be on Twitter or watch one of the, I think, 18 to 20 YouTube shows that he is now a part of. He is the man known as StatsOWar on Twitter. He is Parker Fleming.
How's it going, guys? I like Chris, you saying that it's hoping this week's better than the last and going back and forth. Because for me, betting on college football is just a series of me saying, "Oh, it's so over," and then, "Oh, we're so back," just over and over and again. The cycle just changes every week. So hopefully, we got some good ones tonight.
For every bad drive, there is a great putt, and it keeps you addicted no matter how the day ends. Worst comes to worst, there's always beer. So let us recap what happened last week. We had a tie for first and a tie for last. Let's start with last. Our guest picker, Miles, he went 2-5. So did our good friend Chris Ross here, 2-5. Hit on the Texas -16.5 versus Kansas. Hit on Oklahoma -20. The misses were Cincinnati -2, Houston +8.5, UCF -12, TCU -12, and Georgia State -1. 2-5 on the week brings your record to 26-23. Still 3 games above 500. Not in a bad spot there, Chris.
No, I mean, I can't complain. Still above 500. You're gonna have some down weeks, but it's important to kind of bounce back and learn. I don't feel like any of my reads were terrible last week. The games just didn't break my way.
That's the right mindset to have. It's the great mindset to have. It's not my fault. It's theirs. They should have done what I wanted. Daniel and I went 4-3. Oh, UCF. Daniel hit on BYU +2 versus Cincinnati. Hit on Baylor -12.5 versus UCF. You lucky son of a. Hit on the under 52.5 in TCU West Virginia, and hit on Eastern Michigan +7.5. The misses were Kansas +16.5. The under 51 in Texas Tech Houston. That one was over after the game was 7-7, and missed on Iowa State +20. 4-3 on the week brings you to 24-25, just a game below 500, sir.
We're hanging and banging. We'll keep, like I said, we'll roll up the charts here. Iowa State, I thought they were going to do a little bit better against Oklahoma. What was that other one? Dude, hey, that West Virginia game, I mean, I know I hit on the under. That surprised me. I was not thinking an outright win there. And it feels a little fluky. I mean, West Virginia isn't terrible, but it doesn't feel legit. Sorry, Mountaineer fans. I mean, I had no stake on that, but what a weird season they're having.
Daniel not trusting the climb, sir. They're coming for you in Morgantown. I also went 4-3, hit on BYU +2, hit on the under 61.5 in Texas, Kansas, hit on Oklahoma -20, and Kentucky -1 versus Florida. The misses were the under 51 in Texas Tech, Houston. Again, that Donovan Smith goes 7 for 7 on the first drive. Houston scores. Texas Tech returns the ensuing kickoff 100 yards. It's 7-7. And I knew at that point the under was over. There was no way that game was going to go under. Missed on UCF -12 along with Chris. That game, the absolute most impossible comeback I have ever seen in my entire life. We didn't discuss this enough on Saturday, so I'm just going to hit this real quick. Reminder, Baylor not only had to have 2 touchdowns that they scored, they had to have 2-point conversions that they converted and had to have a fumble return for a touchdown just to be able to kick a game-winning field goal to put that one away and then get a stop at the end. Like, everything that had to go Baylor's way absolutely did. Good. I don't think I'm ever quite going to get past the miracle at Magic Kingdom. That one just incredible.
No,
and of course, miss
you
on
remember
TCU -12. Yeah.
You remember when Texas Oklahoma State was up by like 24 points, ended up losing the game by like 24 points. I feel like this was worse than that. I don't know what the record is in the Big 12 for, biggest lead choked away, but UCF might have taken it in their second game in the conference.
That game you're referring to, I'm pretty sure Vince Young was the quarterback of Texas, and OSU got up early, and then Texas went, oh, yeah, we've got Vince Young, and then just ran away with it in the second half. And I mean, like, it's not, but that's not the same. Like, Texas was a far better team than Oklahoma State was that year. Like, it's not like Baylor was demonstratively better than UCF. It just went weird. So 4-3 on the week for me brings me to 25-24, one game above 500. So the standings are Chris at 26-23, me at 25-24, Daniel at 24-25, and our guest pickers at 2-5. Parker's going to pick up the slack there as our second guest to see if the guests can right the ship here this week. Oh, I'm ready. You guys ready? We ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Let's hit it.
I love it. I'm excited. You're excited. We're all excited. We have 6 games on the docket today, 5 Big 12 games, and of course our non-Big 12 game that we will all pick. We're going to kick things off as we always do in chronological order. We have Oklahoma State hosting Kansas State in a Friday night affair, first Friday of October in Stillwater. This one, Kansas State, currently about a 12-point favorite, depending upon where you shop. Over under. See a lot of 53s and a half. So I see some other random ones. We'll see if Daniel thinks that we can use them or not. Parker, as our guest, sir, I'm going to allow you to go first. What would you like?
I did not do my homework for this in the sense of the rules here. Can you clarify that for me? I'm okay if this is on air. It's probably embarrassing on me, not on you. Can I pull up an odds board and pick what I like, or are we betting at a certain place, or are we just pulling out a line that's theoretically there?
Every podcast is someone's first, so I'm happy to explain the rules. You're welcome to take whatever
I've never
line you want.
podcasted before in my life.
I don't believe you, but we'll let you roll with that one for a minute. You're welcome to take any real line that is out there, total, over, under, or spread.
Okay, then for this one, I'm going to go. So I made this right at the same number. For anyone who's listening who doesn't know who I am, which just seems absolutely absurd given, Phillip, that we've podcasted like 15 times together at this point. I do a preview for every game out there on Twitter. And so I'm just pulling that up and looking at this. I made this right about 12. So I don't love that 12 or 12 and a half number for Kansas State. Certainly don't want to bet on Oklahoma State here. So I see at DraftKings right now, I can get 11 and a half. Kansas State as a favorite. I'm going to go ahead and take Kansas State minus 11 and a half on Friday night.
We typically, just let you know, we defer to Daniel on like what's a real line and what's a not a real line, I guess.
Oh yeah. No, DraftKings is fine. I mean, it's like, when Artichoke Joe's is hanging, plus 16 and the whole world's plus 11 or something.
Yes, I'm on unabated right now, and I generally have, stick to the core couple. I like to give picks that are widely available. I think there's certainly ways to get value of saying like, hey, I ran to this book at this moment and got this play, but I don't think that's generally valuable for the public. So I will stick to the bigger, more accessible books for sure.
Very good. All right, Kansas State minus 11 and a half for Parker. Daniel, sir, you're up next. What would you like?
About to curse these guys. I just know it. My numbers actually cross 14 here for Kansas State. Although I'm probably downgrading Oklahoma State a little bit more than market, and I recognize that, but I don't mind when I'm a little bit off the market on stuff. So this is just a strictly numbers play. I see this line. I don't think it's correct. It's moving in the right direction for me, but is that circa hanging an 11 right now?
It is.
Yeah, right. And I feel bad too. Let's give that to Parker. I mean, circa, we can use their line. So
we'll take the best line for everyone.
Yeah.
That's great.
This K-State minus 11. I know it's a Friday night, right? This game. It's kicking Friday. Short week stuff. I don't know. I'm not going to read too much into it. There's value to me here at this 11. Give me the Wildcats.
All right, you can have it. Not only is this line available at 11 at Circa, you can also choose to take, let's say, Will Howard, plus or minus 28.5 rushing yards, over on Prize Picks if that's something that you'd be interested in. Or maybe you want Will Howard 255.5 passing yards over under. Or maybe you're an OSU fan who's like, you know what? I am a big fan of Dazon Stribling. And I think he's going to have a big night against Kansas State on Friday night. And I think he'll go over the 53.5 receiving yards that Prize Picks has available. They've got multiple Big 12 games up right now. They've got players for Kansas State. They've got players for Oklahoma State. They've got Texas and Oklahoma for Red River. I actually saw some TCU. Maybe you are a big Jared Wiley guy and think 32.5 receiving yards is not enough for him against Iowa State. They've got Jalen Noel for Iowa State as well. So Prize Picks has a ton of Big 12 picks for this weekend available right now at the time of recording. So all you have to do is download the app, use the promo code NETWORK12, NETWORK12, receive a $100 instant deposit match up to, or 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So if you deposit $5, you get $5. You deposit $100, you get $100. Prize Picks is the fun, best legal way to play player props across the country. Pick 2 to 5 players across any sport, like college football, maybe NFL, maybe WNBA, maybe Eurogolf, soccer, PGA, all sorts of sports available for you right now. So pick 2 to 5 players across any sport available and over/under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. They've got plenty of stats to choose from. We just mentioned quite a few: receiving yards, passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns. It's a safe and easy way to play. It offers fast withdrawals, so there's no waiting around for your winnings. It is a ton of fun. I really like this one. Rushing yards for Will Howard against Oklahoma State. I think he might get a few more than 28.5. I think I might take the over on that one. So if you agree or you disagree, go download Prize Picks, use that promo code NETWORK12 for a 100% deposit match up to $100 and make your picks today. All right, now I actually make a real pick for this game. Look, I think I would love to take the total here, but it's way too on the money for me. I have zero reason to believe in Oklahoma State. Maybe if they had, I don't know, maybe Kansas State had played last week and Oklahoma State got a week off. The Kansas State was playing on a short week, but both teams have had a week off. Both teams have had time to get healthy. It's a weeknight game, so it might get weird. But I think Oklahoma State's going to throw a lot at this game because they're in a position where they kind of need to. Like Oklahoma State needs to right this ship. I just don't believe that they will. Did you know that, and shout out to Sports Social Analytics for this one, Oklahoma State leads the Power 5 in missed tackle rate at 20.5%. Against Will Howard and the rushing attack from Kansas State? No, thank you. I will ride with Daniel and Parker and take Kansas State minus 11 in this one. Chris?
Why? Why are you guys all on the same side? I hate this. Oh my goodness. I mean, this is at 2 scores, this is easy money. Daniel, I don't think your number is wrong. I think it's right on the money because, listen, I think Oklahoma State's being overvalued on the brand that they've built and not who they are this season, which is they're trash. They're hot garbage, and they're playing probably the worst of the 3 quarterbacks in Bowman. Yes, he's the most experienced, and Gundy always plays it safe, but what do you have to lose at this point? I mean, I don't know. Oklahoma State, I don't have any faith in them this year. I don't think Gundy is interested in really doing much other than collecting his paycheck. which is guaranteed to keep coming. I mean, look, Will Howard's thrown some picks, 4 picks, but the Pokes are -3 in the turnover margin. Wildcats are 3-1 against the spread. Oklahoma State's being overvalued here. Yes, it's in Stillwater, but I don't think that means anything. Give me the Wildcats. And I guess we could just all be on the same side.
I will note, now that I've looked it up, Oklahoma State is 5-1 as a home underdog since 2017 against the spread. So,
yeah, but how many times as a home underdog since 2017 have they absolutely been garbage? Almost cursed. Sorry.
No. The problem
Yeah.
with Oklahoma State is like, I don't feel like the trends apply right now. Like this is not an Oklahoma State team, and so like you should go against the trend with OSU right now because I think you're going to make more money that way than if you try and ride with what statistically and typically is the way to go. Like OSU is typically a good team to bet on. I don't think they are right now because I just don't think they're any good. So all right, as we do this in chronological order, we're moving on down to the final Red River Rivalry, Red River Shootout, if you actually want to call it by the name that God gave it, as a Big 12 event. It's the end of this. It will no longer be Big 12. I understand Big 12 fans are like, we don't care. Like, that's fine. Like, I'm still going to probably pay attention after I get back from the U4, U5 girls soccer team that I have to coach. Right now, Texas is a 6.5 point favorite. That's pretty much consistent across the board. Total, also pretty consistent at 60.5. Daniel, you're up first, sir. What would you like?
Give me Oklahoma here. Texas. Texas, I just think has been over. This is just my opinion, and I know some stat guys might kill me on this. Texas has been overperforming a little bit, in my opinion, just as far as like final scores when you go look at box score and then how the units on the field have actually been playing out. I know it's a little bit of like some spreadsheet stuff, but simply put, I have this line way closer to like a 3.5. I do also think Oklahoma's defense is potentially a little bit overvalued. Just when you look at the offenses that they've played so far this year and how they've performed, someone is working on some adjusted stat or originating some adjusted stat might be able to correct me. But, again, box score stuff, the defense looks a little bit better than it should be. So I am going to take the 6.5 here with Oklahoma in the rivalry game. And in the betting sense, I will actually probably be looking at the over a little bit here because I think both teams are going to be able to score on each other.
Daniel, I don't like that we're 2 for 2 on agreeing with each other. I'm going to read some things, and then I'll tell you why I'm picking. First off, Texas' inability to finish drives on offense and Oklahoma's ability to stop teams in their tracks once they cross the 40 kind of tells me that like OU should be able to keep this game close. Texas has left points on the board all season. And like I said, OU, once teams cross the 40, like their defense, they'll give up some big plays here and there, but like they're doing a very good job. Here's my favorite one. Shout out to our friend Keegan Renault for this. He put out like all the different projections. Parker, I'm just going to steal yours because it's in this list. S&P Plus has Texas 29 over OU 27. FEI has Oklahoma 32.8 to Texas 31.8. Parker, your graphic has it Texas 32.88, Oklahoma 25.62. Tissue Index has it Oklahoma 31, Texas 23. Our good friend Kelly Ford has it Oklahoma by 1.5. Room 44 Bets has it by Texas 2.5. ESPN FPI has Oklahoma 54.5% win probability. Like, this game just projects to be close. That all tells me that Oklahoma's probably the right side in this one to at least cover. Oh, by the way, I'm going to ride with the trend of Oklahoma at this point is 5-0 against the spread on closing lines right before games kick off. I don't think that this line's probably going to move significantly unless someone just comes in with a whole ton of money or because something gets announced as far as an injury in this game. Daniel, I'm with you. Oklahoma to cover the 6.5. Chris?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. FEI, they efficiency likes Oklahoma in this, which is kind of surprising. Is going in. I think Texas is eyeball test the better team so far this season. Texas is just really solid across the board. And I think that I think maybe Daniel hit the nail on the head. I think it's going to come down to the Oklahoma defense versus the Texas offense. I think the Texas offense is a little bit better than anything they've seen so far. I don't know if they're going to have the same success that they've had to this point. The highest ranked team has actually won this matchup 82% of the time. That's like a high margin for this game where they're typically evenly matched. Texas is just so solid. I don't know how you bet against them, especially under a score. Alabama, Oklahoma, I think are pretty evenly compared teams. Texas won that game by 10. As far as talent and quality, yeah, there's differences in the team, sure. But yeah, I'm gonna at under a score, I'm gonna take Texas here and maybe get some separation from you guys.
All right, Parker.
I actually think I pretty strongly disagree with the idea that Texas has underperformed or overperformed rather relative to kind of what you saw in the efficiencies there. I think they've actually underperformed. I think they left points on the board against Alabama. They won that game by 10 in Tuscaloosa and left points on the board with a couple of drops and a couple of just stalled out drives there. Against Kansas, they had let me read this correctly. Oh, I don't know where it went. Okay, I had it, but I looked down. They had like 3 first downs inside the red zone and came away with like 3 total points out of all of those. I think they left a lot on the table in the Kansas game too. What's interesting about Texas and their ratings is one, kind of how they haven't finished drives. You wouldn't expect their drop rate to be so high consistently over the course of the season, especially with what we know about those wide receivers. And I think it's very, very true that Sark knows the bigger goal this year and is potentially doing that thing where he's doing as little as possible against a team like Kansas, against a team like Rice and Wyoming. And so some of those efficiency metrics may be a little bit down just because I think they don't have to do very much to beat bad opponents. And they know that they've got a couple big games like the Alabama, like the Oklahoma here at the beginning, where any advantage they can keep, they're going to try to keep there. So I actually lean pretty strongly towards Texas here, especially at the 6.5. I know at one point it was up to 7 or 7.5, and that's about where I make it. But if I'm forced to pick a side here, I think I'm actually trusting Texas more than I'm trusting Oklahoma, especially given we've seen Texas against elite competition. We have not seen Oklahoma against elite competition. And I want to say it out loud multiple times. Allowing a full field touchdown score to the Iowa State Cyclones is a deeply embarrassing reality for the Oklahoma defense. They should be ashamed. So I'll go with Texas to cover as the favorite.
I appreciate you taking any opportunity you can to throw in some Iowa State slander. Continuing to stay on character. Okay, so let's move on down to the only afternoon game in the Big 12 this Saturday. That is Kansas hosting UCF. UCF hoping to lick its wounds after that embarrassing loss. I just there's no other way to describe it than like you blew a 28-point lead midway through the third quarter. It's just incredible. Kansas currently a 1.5 point favorite over UCF. Total is pretty much sitting at 65 across the board. I think I'm first here. So at this point, I think UCF's defense might just be bad. Like it might just be not like okay, not good. Like it's not just that Baylor had this uncanny comeback. Like a shout out, because there's a combination of information both from Bud Elliott of Cover 3 and then Travis Roeder, who does a great job covering Baylor. On Baylor's final 8 drives, they went for 54.9 yards per drive and held UCF to 30.8. Like, UCF came out hot and fast and had a bunch of really quick scoring plays, and Baylor held onto the ball a lot, slowed that game down, and wore out UCF's defense. Now, look, they still had to have everything go their way to get that win. I don't buy UCF's defense at this point. Kansas's offense is hard to prepare for. You almost have to play it once to really get a good read on it because they disguise and mask so much stuff. Like, Jason Bean is going to look a whole hell of a lot better if he's the starter against UCF than he did against Texas. Throw in, I think we're going to see a lot of Devin Neal from Kansas in this game. To UCF defense, it's 80th in EPA per rush and 92nd in yards per game, giving up 156.8 yards per game on the ground. Kansas' defense can be plucky. If they can force turnovers, that's really a good thing. I'm taking the over. Like, I think UCF will be able to score on Kansas. I think Kansas can be able to score on UCF, even at 65. And I know Kansas has played slower than people realize and has had more to the under, but I think at 65, like, I'm taking the over here. I just think there's going to be a decent amount of points scored. Chris.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see if Daniels plays. I guess he didn't practice on Monday, is the last report I saw, but he's a maybe, I think.
The report today is that he, quote, has not done much this week, end quote.
Okay, well then maybe
Which,
not.
brother,
so much.
same.
Okay, well then, all right. Well, we'll see how this goes then. Because here's the thing. I mean, I'm not gonna pick UCF after last week. When what are we doing? They like that choke at home. Now you're going to go on the road against another quality team, and I think this is just some growing pains. UCF is going to experience this, and Houston and Cincinnati to a little bit here. Like the Power Five is a gauntlet week in and week out. You don't have a bunch of lesser competition that you can kind of just make sure you get the win and then play up for the 2 or 3 big games that you have, and then get into a New Year's Six bowl and and steal a win or something. No, this is every week is a quality opponent, and you have to show up. And after what happened last week, they're gonna have doubts. They're gonna. I mean, we'll see. We'll learn a lot about both these teams. To make this short, give me Kansas.
Parker.
I'm not actually super buying that Baylor did anything amazing in that second half there. I mean, you look at like one of their touchdowns was 55 yards, so a short field, and they had the fumble return against UCF. And sometimes that's like, if UCF kicks that field goal, I don't think that I'm thinking about how it was a choke job and I should be worried. I should think like, oh man, they got a friggin' serious run of negative variance and their depth is a little bit thin and they survived it, but they didn't survive it. So I don't know if the outcome of that field goal that they had the opportunity to make there at the end was, one way or the other, really, really big. Didn't make a really, really big difference for me there. But I am interested in this Kansas team. I mean, I think we saw that they and UCF are both similar in terms of offense and defense, being a little more offense forward, being defense with the defense being much worse. Both teams, playing with a backup quarterback in this situation. And both teams really, really making a lot of hay on late downs, on 3rd and 4th down. UCF's 12th, Kansas is 29th, and both defenses, bottom 30, bottom 40 in 3rd and 4th down success. So should be a lot of drives that are long and doing well. One thing to keep an eye on, I think, is UCF has a really good field position advantage against Kansas. Kansas starting field position has been really, really bad, 89th in the nation on average. They're like 27.4. And UCF's allowing people to start at their own 26.3, which is 34th in the nation. So big advantage there. I think I want to make Jason Bean throw a lot of passes. I want to commit to the rush and stop Devin Neal from, beating me. I want them to beat me through the air. And so I'm actually going to lean towards UCF as a road dog here. I think these teams are a lot closer in talent. I think UCF actually has the better roster. And in terms of depth, I don't think there's as big a gap here. And I think that UCF will be able to outlast. So I'm going to go with the Knights on the road.
All right, Daniel.
I'm come along as well with the Knights. I don't think Jalen's going to play. I mean, that's just, I don't know, just seeing how
he's not practicing.
Yeah, he's not practicing Monday. It doesn't sound like it. The way this game has been bet tells me that people with respect to dollars perhaps don't think he's going to play. At the college level, someone like Jalen, in my opinion, does matter to the spread. You get some teams where it sort of doesn't matter if a guy's out. Without Jalen, a raw number, meaning no home field advantage, so take whatever home field you think Kansas has. But my raw number with no Jalen is UCF minus 2.5. So I'm going to have some real money down on this game once Saturday rolls around. I think I read, too, this is maybe their first time. Is this the first time both schools have ever played each other? That was an interesting stat. But anyway, UCF, I'm with you. A fluky second half. They lost to Baylor. Everyone saw it. But the way this is getting bet, no Jalen, respected money on UCF. I can get them at plus 1.5, where I think they should be favored in this spot. UCF, let's roll.
You are correct. These two teams have never faced off in football before. So
this is just a hunch. When that happens, I swear the over hits every time. That's just that's just straight like old wives' tale betting stuff, but let's just see what happens. When two teams have never played each other, the over always hits. It's automatic. Nice hit, Phillip.
And lack of familiarity is like really the biggest thing that Kansas's offense has going for it last year and this year. So when they play new opponents, that's certainly going to lead to more scoring. And I don't think Kansas has really played someone who's run the Gus offense at a decent clip. Am I crazy about that? I might regret saying that on air as I'm thinking out loud, but I'm pretty sure that Leipold has not had to face somebody like this. So points. Yeah, sure.
Not enough, you'd think, to have a ton of familiarity with it. So there you go. All right. Moving on down, we got 2 night games in the Big 12. First up, we have the game affectionately known as the Butt Bowl. Baylor facing off against Texas Tech. Matchup in Texas. Texas Tech currently a 1.5 point favorite total. Hanging about 60.5. The total, if you're interested in the total, I see a couple other random numbers we might be able to get for you if that's your fancy. Chris, you're up first, sir. What would you like here?
Man, Texas Tech, they were better last week than I thought they were going to be. That was probably one I got wrong. I was a little too worried about the loss of how do you pronounce his name?
Shuck,
yeah. I was probably a little too worried about that. I'm blanking here. Oh, Morton did a decent job at quarterback with them. Baylor. This is where I think UCF kind of choked away that win more than Baylor went and got it. I don't think Baylor just all of a sudden clicked and now they're some good team. I like Texas Tech to get this one. I'm surprised the line is actually this close. So give me the Red Raiders.
All right. I think who's got that? Daniel, are we taking win?
Yeah. You can bet win. Well, I mean, what are they? Are they at like -1 or something?
Yeah, they've got a 1. Everybody else is about 1.5. But
no, then if the entire world's at 1.5, then the traders at win they're just sleeping.
All right. Well, wake them up. 1.5. All right. Parker?
I actually did a pretty long discussion on this today on the BetUS show and talked about how, like, I don't normally do vibe bets, but this is a bet where I just have a vibe. I just feel like the spirits have spoken to me here, and I can't shake this feeling that Baylor's going to win. I just think that a couple of things kind of go in Baylor's favor here. One, they've been great against Texas Tech historically. The only time Texas Tech has beaten them in recent history has been the COVID year, and that was 1 point. And I think we just got to throw that out the window there. So I specifically think Joey McGuire on the road is not something I'm super interested in betting on here. And lastly, I think Texas Tech is really good at running the ball. Shout out to Joey McGuire mentioning EPA in the press conference. Love to see it. They're 5th in EPA per rush, but if you look, they're also 24th in rush rate over expected. So they're minus 7.4 percentage points more than the average team. So the reason their run game is really good is selection. With Baron Morton at quarterback, they're going to run more. That efficiency is going to come down. So the pass ceiling is already pretty low. It's going to come down some. That rush ceiling, they're going to have to rely on that more. And with that increased volume, they're going to decrease as well. So I'm going to take the home dog. I'm going to take Baylor here to cover. And even I would like a money line straight up. I know it's 1 and 1.5, whatever. So that's not a huge deal. You should look at odds before making that decision. But yeah, you can get a Baylor plus 1.5 pretty widely available here. So 1 or 1.5, I like it either way.
1.5 is what we're rolling with. That's the best I can get you from that side. Daniel, you're up, sir.
Yeah, this thing opened Baylor -2. It was it was bet like instantly within minutes circa when they opened that. Moved to -1, moved to Baylor -1. So full disclosure, real life, I was able to get down for me a pretty sizable bet on Texas Tech +1. To simply just put my work has Texas Tech as a 2.5 point favorite here. When you're a better, line's open, you're able to get down at a good number and the line goes your way, 3.5 points. You feel great about where you're sitting, but it doesn't feed you. You still got to, Texas Tech still needs to cover here. Now, Parker, it's funny you say that, man. It's I've got this bad feeling. This just feels like the whole world, everyone I talk to, every circle that I'm in, it's like, why did that line open where it was? And like, I know the line has moved, and I know right now Texas Tech looks like the right side, but I just have this terrible feeling that like, it's like when we all pick the same game here. It's like everyone I'm talking to, it's like, oh yeah, Texas Tech's going to win this thing. They're going to, they're going to cover. Baylor was fluky last week. The line was wrong. Watch, Baylor's just going to win this thing by double digits. It's so stupid. I hate betting.
Do you think Baylor's just cashing in on the reputation they built, though?
I mean, okay. As far as the market's concerned, no. Okay, so I mean, look, just if this was some huge primetime game, maybe a line, let's make it up, but it's Bama LSU, and both teams are good, and maybe a line is shaded half a point one way or the other because of past perception of a program, but the 2023 Baylor Bears are not affecting the line in any way based on past performance. It's just my opinion, but it's like, no, books aren't doing any of that. So being long-winded here, just to say I've bet Texas Tech in real life. I just have a sinking suspicion that this is just going to be one of those weird games where nothing goes right. Texas Tech's already having a weird year. Give me Baylor plus 1.5 here. I'm just going to hedge my real life position. I hate that.
I like that. All right. This has no impact on my decision. I just think it's interesting. Shout out to Travis Rader again. And then Sam Bradshaw, second 365. If you look at Texas Tech statistics this year compared to last year, offensive success rate, 52 or 42% both years. Defensive success rate, 39% last year, 40% this year. Offense is at about 34 yards per drive both years. Defense is giving up 33 yards per drive both years. Like, Texas Tech isn't significantly better or worse than they were last year. They just finished games last year, and this year they can't. Like, you look at Oregon, couldn't finish the game. Wyoming couldn't finish the game. Houston, I take nothing away from games against Houston. That's more to do about Houston. I don't think you should ever take what someone did against Houston and apply it moving forward. West Virginia, weird coaching decisions on offense, couldn't finish the game. Like, at this point, I'm just not sure Texas Tech knows how to finish games at all. All that said, like, Baylor feels like the right side. I don't know how I feel about this game. I don't feel like I have a good read on it. I'm actually going to take the under 60.5 in this one. Like, I could see a weird game where both teams run the ball fairly effectively. It leads to a slower game. Baylor's going to want to slow the game down anyway. It's close, so no one's having to score quickly. Texas Tech's not going to do this week what happened against Houston last week because Houston's Houston. So I'm just going to ride with the under. I think it's close to 60, but I think I'm going to be safe there. All right, last Big 12 game on the docket for this week. But first, we just talked about the Butt Bowl. You know what's not butt? Charlie Hustle. And the incredible collection of clothes that they have for you there. This podcast and every podcast in the 1012 Network is brought to you by our friends at Charlie Hustle Clothing Company. They're a vintage-inspired clothing company based out of Kansas City that loves the Big 12 and specializes in collegiate and hometown apparel. Charlie Hustle wants you to be the best-dressed fan this season, so be sure to check out their wide selection of officially licensed collegiate apparel today and show off your school spirit all season long. Today is the first day I felt a chill in the air, which means it's about time to be buying some sweaters and some hoodies, fellas, for yourself, and buy an extra because your ladies are going to steal them, because that's what always happens. And especially once you get a Charlie Hustle sweater or hoodie, because they're very comfortable, you're not going to be hanging on to it. And they've got some fantastic stuff for every Big 12 team. Yes, Cincinnati fans, I know they don't have Cincinnati yet. They're working on it. Don't worry. They do have Colorado as well. Those are just some of the more than 30 schools that they have to choose from. Plus, if you're a fan of just the city of Kansas City and the Chiefs and being around that area, they've got a ton of stuff that you might like as well. So go to charliehustle.com. Use the promo code 101215, TEN1215 for 15% off all non-sale items. Notice I didn't say first time purchase, whatever. I just said all non-sale items. So buy yourself something now. Maybe throw a few things in the cart for friends and family at the holiday season. And remember that promo code 101215 for 15% off all non-sale items at charliehustle.com. Charlie Hustle, vintage, made fresh. All right, last Big 12 game of the weekend. Just 5 Big 12 games. Whew, man, it's not enough. TCU on the road at Iowa State. I don't know why. TCU versus Iowa State has never not feel like a weird game to me. I don't know why. It just does. At the moment, TCU, a 6.5 point favorite. There are a couple sixes out there if that's something that interests you. Total about 52.5. I think I see a few 53s if that's something more. Man, this line has gone way up. Opened at 44.5, and now it's all the way up to 52.5. That is wild. I believe, Parker, you're up first, sir. Perfect. We're talking TCU. What would you like, sir?
Yeah, so TCU has not won in Ames in three straight tries. They haven't won in Ames. Last time was 2015, so pre-Campbell PC maybe doesn't count for our current purposes here. And did struggle on the road. One thing that I'm really worried about here for TCU is specifically that we've seen that TCU's offense cannot do anything in the red zone. There's no innovation. There's no kind of dude at the wide receiver position. There's no go-to option in the red zone. And they've lost a couple games they should have won because they couldn't finish in the red zone. They're currently 82nd at finishing drives. By my numbers, Iowa State's defense 41st in finishing drives allowed. I'm going to give the edge to Iowa State there. I think they're going to make this a rock fight, kind of bring TCU down into the mud. Iowa State's offense, not very successful, 111th in passing success rate, but 54th in EPA per pass. So when your explosiveness or your efficiency kind of outweighs your success rate there, that means that when you are getting those successful plays, you are popping off a few big ones. That's all Iowa State needs here to get TCU into a script where they're going to have to drop back and rely on Chandler Morris and that offensive line to play almost perfectly to make anything kind of happen. So Rocco Beck's been slinging the ball a little bit. Not to mention it's the Jack Trice legacy game, and people are going to be amped up for that. I think the atmosphere is going to be pretty crazy here. So I think TCU probably pulls this one away, but Iowa State's going to make this way more uncomfortable than it needs to be. I'll take Iowa State in the points.
Daniel?
We're going to do this again, aren't we? Matt Campbell, conference games. He's 11-5 against the spread as a dog when he's coming off a loss. When they're double-digit losses, he's 4-0 against the spread as a dog. Just interesting, not enough sample there to get really too excited, but tells me something. Teams are engaged. He goes and gets blown out, and then he comes back and he's a dog in the next game. Maybe there's some evidence that he runs a good week of practice. He gets the team to buy into whatever the message is for the week, and he comes back and covers the spread. The line, in my opinion, is pretty darn close to right. I mean, my raw number with no home field advantage is TCU -6. Maybe I'll give a little bit of a home field advantage edge to an Iowa State team more so than like a Bowling Green or something. So, maybe this line should be closer to 4 or 4.5 by my numbers. I like the Matt Campbell trends. I like my numbers. I'm going to take Iowa State +6.5.
You know what? I'm just going to do it. This line has come up. This total has come up so much. And I don't understand. Daniel, give me a read here. How do you take a line at 44.5 and bet it all the way up to 52.5? Like what do all the bettors know that says this line is way too low?
So one tough thing about, we're going to get into like a little bit of like some weeds and some educational stuff here for betting, but so that open that you saw, I don't want to say it's a fake open, but people want to get early to the market now. Some books do, and they start you with really low limits, but they just want to get a number out there to get people betting. So that 44.5, I don't know where it opened, probably something like a points bet in New Jersey or New York or something, or maybe it was a DraftKings or FanDuel somewhere. And when they open that, it's like you can bet $100 or $200, and they'll move the line point and a half, 2 points off a $250 bet. They're just trying to sort of test the market, if you will, by just getting a number out there. And then it's funny because bettors say, I moved the lines and I did this and I did that. It's like, well, hey man, they're putting it out there for you to move the line with $100. So don't get too excited. Circa opened this at 50, and just simply put, right now in the college football marketplace, you look at where Circa opened a number. if you're looking at sort of a real opener.
You
So
have hold on. You have it as 50?
when Circa opened this,
Oh, okay.
so
The I always go off the graphic they post on Sundays around like 1:30 whenever they post it. The graphic that they put out on Twitter was opening the total at 44.5. So that is very interesting.
Then it moved within seconds. I mean, then they moved it by the time it hit the lines. So this game they opened at 11:15 a.m. and at 11:16 a.m. it was 50. 11:16 and 9 seconds it was 50. So it's like there was probably 60 seconds of taking money on a line, and they just immediately said like, okay, we're off here.
Okay.
Which is just the price they pay to get a good, like they know who the sharp guys are, and they're just like, hey, I know he's going to bet, and we're going to move it on that action, and we're going to pay him for his information there. Like the best way to get a right answer is to write down a wrong answer, and that's
then
kind of
Circa on those openers, the max that they'll take is $1,000. So it's like, they're
I was gonna say
1K is that's their max on those like very immediate opening totals. So they'll have a few $1,000s of liability, which I don't know the inner workings of their business, but I assume they sort of don't care about taking $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 of information to get the line right from people who know. Sorry if that was long-winded, but just telling you.
It's very interesting. I appreciate
I would assume, I don't know for sure. I would assume DraftKings opened a number before Circa. DraftKings has been beating Circa to like Power 5 games at least. So I don't bet at DraftKings, so I'm just talking off what I see on my board. But that's what happens. So yeah, there has been a dramatic move, but all of those moves that happen, we'll say like literally within the first 15, 30, 45 seconds of a line being open, it's sort of hard to put the same stock in them as the term that people use is once the market matures, right? Once the line has been out for a few hours, a day or two, then it's like what kind of movement has happened. So,
okay. Good to know. Okay, we're not taking Win or Station, right? We don't trust them.
I mean, if they're the same, if those two are way off everybody, sorry, man.
Win and Station are hanging 253s. Everyone else has got a 52.5.
Oh, okay. We'll give it to you.
Great. Under 53.
That's just good shots.
I always thank you, vsin.com. Always shop around. All right.
Unless it's like minus 150 compared to minus 110 or something. It's not like crazy.
It doesn't show
to get that half point, right?
That. It just shows the number.
Oh.
I mean, stations is stations.
That's okay. That's okay for.
Okay. So if it's like Stations and Win have it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you that half point.
Stations and Win both have it. All right, great. I'll take it under 53. That was a very long-winded way of saying I'll take it under as well. Chris.
Yeah. Which game were we talking about again? No, I'm just kidding. No. I don't know what you guys are really worried about with this one. Iowa State lost to Oklahoma State in Ames this year. I don't know. Jack Trice is not some magical place. Give me TCU.
Wait, what?
Am I right there? Right?
He said give him TCU.
Oklahoma State lost to Iowa State.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I read that backwards. Wow, I'm an idiot. We can just delete all that. I just said.
We delete.
But no, we'll just edit that out. But pick's still the same. I mean, it's under a touchdown. I like TCU by 7 to 10 here, so TCU.
All right, I love it. All right, we wrap the show up the same way we always do. With a non-Big 12 pick, you can pick anything off the board that's not Big 12 related, total or against the spread, as whatever you would like. Daniel, you're up first, sir. What you want?
There's a lot of good spots this week. I'm going to go with a little tried and true one, just one that I love, a spot where I'm going to have money down, 9 a.m., early morning game, little Big Ten action, Rutgers and Wisconsin. I love that this total has been bet down as much as it has. I just need Rutgers to hang on. They're catching 13 right now against this Wisconsin team. I think just with the pace of this game, we're looking at something like a 24-13, 27-14, maybe I can get a push or something like that. But Rutgers is going to keep this close enough. They're going to be able to score on Wisconsin. So that 13 is too much for my numbers. This too big of a spread for too low of a total with a team that's going to be able to make points happen. Rutgers plus 13.5.
Yep.
Looks like.
Yep.
Yeah.
You got a hook. Yep. That's there for you. Okay. It's one for me last week, so I'm sticking with the rule. It's another unranked favorite versus a ranked dog. UCLA hosting Washington State. Right now, hold on, last check, UCLA was a 3-point favorite. Let's make sure that's still where it's at. Yep, I got a lot of 3s on the board. I will take UCLA -3. This rule works. I'm going to stick with it. And I will take the Bruins. Chris.
Yeah, Daniel, I have a question for you. Where did the Kentucky-Georgia game open up at Circa?
Oh, shit. I don't know. Oh, excuse me. Shoot.
The open shows 23.5, and it's moved all the way down to 14.5. If that 23.5 is legit.
Circa shows a 15.
Okay,
Or at least the Circa
sense.
graphic I have from Sunday, which, has a 15.
That makes more sense.
And I will. Yeah, I got a 15. Yeah.
So, I mean, that makes more sense. But that movement got me looking at this game. And I typically shy away from marquee games like this because I think the lines are typically about right. But in this case, I think Kentucky, this is going to be the most value Kentucky ever is this season. And conversely, Georgia is actually, they have not, I think they're like 0-3 against the spread right now. 0-5, yeah. Duh, if I knew how to count. 0-5 against the spread. They haven't covered a line yet. But I think this is the week they do it. Kentucky, it's a good story. They haven't really played anybody. At Georgia. Georgia's really good. Give me the dogs.
You think Georgia covers a more than 2 touchdown spread?
I wish it was 13.5 by
rock fight.
Point, but yeah.
Excellent. Okay. Parker.
I hope you guys can see this is me physically holding my nose and betting Nebraska plus 3.5. Illinois stinks. They're terrible. And I hate that I'm betting Nebraska, but I think the one thing about Nebraska here is that they failed publicly early on. They've had a couple spots where they were just a disaster kind of publicly, and they've settled down a little bit. Illinois on the defensive side of things is just not, they're just a shell of what they were last year. So I hate it. I don't know. This might be the only time I bet on Nebraska the entire season, but especially because you can get that 3.5. I think DraftKings has it. FanDuel's making you pay a little bit for 3.5, but you can get it at DraftKings. I'm going to take Nebraska as a road dog here. I just Illinois' defense, man. Ugh. And Altmaier is a robot for Illinois. I mean, he's very good at kind of if then, but if you can disrupt it all, he's really off his game. And Nebraska's struggled this year when a quarterback can kind of create in space. And I'd say a lot of things about Luke Altmaier, but creating in space is not something that I'd say he's good at. So I again hate it, holding my nose, but Nebraska's one I like here.
That's awesome. That is, I believe we would call that a sicko play if you're betting on Nebraska for any reason whatsoever.
It's a Big Ten. It's a Big Ten matchup.
It is. It also feels like a very Big Ten matchup, which is gross. Parker, appreciate it, man. I always enjoy having you on the show here, and fun having a good time making some picks with you this week. You can follow Parker on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at StatsOWar. The Bet US show is one of the betting shows that I listen to every week. Parts 1 and 2 drop on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, so go check that one out on YouTube. Of course, you should be subscribed to us on YouTube at 1012 Podcast as well. 1012 Network for Twitter. You can follow Daniel on Twitter at DannerB7, DANNERB7. Don't forget, check out Charlie Hustle. Check out Prize Picks. Use those promo codes 10-12-15 on Charlie, Network 12 on Prize Picks. Check out the 1012 Network Patreon. Link is in the show notes. We just dropped Jamie's Big 12 Tarot card readings for this week is on the Patreon now. So I would suggest that you go and subscribe to read those.
I didn't know you guys did that, Phillip, but if you asked me what Jamie did on the podcast, I would say something like tarot cards.
We call her the Vibe Queen for a reason. Chris Ross is not on Twitter, so you can just DM us if you want us to pass along a message. I'll do that, and I might just blame all of you when I send him something mean. So enjoy this weekend of games. We'll be back on Monday to recap the weekend that was and look ahead to the week that will be.